am I going to die? Like, if it's no, then I can probably fix this and figure it out, and there's always a solution. You are paying a huge amount of ignorance tax that you are not aware of. They create a prison for themselves. Like, they've got the golden handcuffs, but they can't walk away.
Hello and welcome to the Lead to Win podcast. Today I'm with someone who's actually monopolized the entire industry within the fitness business audience. What they've done is they've grown multiple businesses, one business within a fitness niche, then another business helping fitness coaches grow their business. I'm with Charlie Johnson, who's actually grown his business and helped over 17,000 customers, and also now how many professionals with fitness?
800 plus probably.
And over 700 or 800 plus fitness business professionals as well. And I think Charlie's main skill is not just understanding traffic and content, layering how you would do paid advertising, organic, and mixing it all together, but also high level data management and leadership. The podcast today is going to be quite a different outlook. It's not just going to be how you would see Charlie from the outside, which is just some muscular guy he's in shape, but it's way deeper than that. He understands content to the level of how do I gather attention strategically in a way that I know I can engineer a message, engineer a business to grow, and he teaches others how to do it. Welcome.
Big thank you. And my goal today is to share as many insights from the journey of estate agent from when I left my job 25th of February 2019 to today, where we've generated over $17 million online. So I'm going to pour as much as I can to make sure anyone who has listening to this, you've got a pen and paper.
What lessons from being an estate agent help you today?
So this is actually a huge thing that I took for granted. And actually the first thing that comes into my mind is when I first started there, I used to work for an independent business, then got bought by a corporate company. So I understood like hard as hell independent business owners, and then working for like a corporate conglomerate that was a mess. Now, what I specifically saw from the independent business owners, the two brothers called the Hess brothers, I would turn up to the office early because I used to cheat and steal all the leads. You have to win. It is what it is. It's the game of life. And my boss would already be there. He'd be there at like fucking 7 a.m., like fucking typing away. And that's when I think I saw a very early age at the start of my career. Like, if you want to be really successful, there's a direct correlation between what you put in and versus what you get out. And I think one of the issues that people have right now, whether they want to make internet money or whatever, is they think it's easier than it is. And in my opinion, it's hard, but it's not necessarily complicated, if that makes sense. So I'd say that's the first thing, is understanding that. And probably the biggest skill that I was exposed to, I became a manager of a branch of an estate agent making like £1 million a year at 23, 24, which is very young. So I was really thrown at the deep end of managing people, problems, like compliance, just the general crap that happens when you manage a team. So I think I became very good in terms of politics and positioning people, which I didn't realize at the time I was getting paid to learn, if that makes sense.
So up until 24, you're getting paid to learn, and you're learning all of these skills, but then they help your decision-making matrix as you get older. When you got young guys that you're coaching, and these are people that make tens of thousands or sometimes hundreds of thousands through working with you or in your industry, a lot of these guys haven't been in that work environment. They've only sat behind a desk, made content, and then made money. How do you teach them those lessons that are learned in an office environment, in a company? How do you create that for someone?
I would say the greatest gift I have, and we have in the 7-figure scaling systems coaching people, is yes, we tell them what to do, but also not what to do. So I briefly said before this that I know all entrepreneurs have ADHD. Like, we want to fucking do everything, we get distracted. And I said to you before this, like, I can feel I'm getting the itch to just do something random and just waste my time. And that's having done it for a long period of time. And the key for getting younger entrepreneurs to understand this is actual data and numbers. If you can show someone factually, this is what's working, why didn't you just do more than that, and actually break down black and white why maybe making TikTok videos and trying to get leads from that isn't a great idea, and why you don't just focus more on the funnel in Instagram that's working, it then becomes easier. And also if you equate it back to what the person probably wants, which is going to be revenue and money, it then becomes easier for them to make that decision. And I think one of the ways I tend to do that a lot is storytelling. Like, I've had every problem you can have from having an online business, from multiple payment processes shut down, social media accounts disabled, publicly been slated by multiple people who are competitors. And I think once you've been through the fire, you know how to give advice to other people how to put it out.
And people will only throw stones at someone who's doing good. And you've had people attack you online in many different ways. So if people are attacking you, do you actually care?
I swear.
It's your,
I couldn't give a flying fuck. And for me, I'm like, good, because the reality is it shows I've triggered them and I've got them. Because if they were like reacting to what I'm doing, it shows like they care and I'm having an effect. And for example, I would never get triggered and make a piece of content about one of my competitors. I'm going to give an example why. There's a saying that no press is bad press. And even in the last week or two, we had a client who signed up with us, paid us $12K or whatever, it was like $15,000. And he found out about me because one of these guys slated me online. And he's like, who is this guy? Looked me up on YouTube. He's like, oh, his content's sick. It's really, really good. And then he took loads of value from my content, made loads of money from it, and then ended up joining our program. So I also think that's where people, when quote unquote bad things happen or things get thrown at you, is how you frame that and also how you position it. So from my side of things, what I do in those scenarios, I don't throw stones back. Like I'm like Teflon Don, like nothing sticks. Because I won't rise to other people. I will just rise above them and just beat them into the fucking ground in terms of from a competition standpoint. And I think the other thing you have to also understand is when you start throwing stones at other people, your own audience see that. And from my perspective, that shows you as a weak leader.
There's a level of competition. So, you know, when someone who's making 2-3 million a year attacks you, whoever it is, that's a certain level of attack. But then that conditions you to the point where, let's say you're the guy who makes 30 million a year, the next attack might be from a more sophisticated entrepreneur that's making 10 to 15 million a year, and his tactics are far deeper. So you don't just do reps and progressive overload in your work. It's also in the attacks that you can, the onslaught that you can take, because it gets more aggressive as you grow.
And I can even go into this further, and it wasn't publicly spoken about. One of the issues we had was we were actually getting like cyber attacked. So like my Instagram account got disabled maybe 10 times. There was someone from, I think, Pakistan or Finland or somewhere trying to like hack.
Let's say Pakistan.
Yeah, let's let's
give them the credit.
They were trying to hack me constantly and also some of my clients and blackmail me for 30,000 euros. Like calling me up saying we're not going to stop until this. Fortunately, on my side, which is why if you know good people and you also have money, you can solve problems. I had someone who was basically a hacker on my end who could get my account back in 20 minutes. And I think that was an interesting lesson in business, but also in life. And I'll actually frame why. Because no one is coming to save you. Because in that situation, I was like, well, what can I really do about this? So we went to Meta and Facebook. They were like, go to the Irish police. We went to Irish police. Aidan was in Ireland at the time. And they were like, there's nothing we can do about this. Take laws into your own hands. I was like, okay.
Take laws into your own hands?
Yes, I was like, violence is the option then. So in the end, we just did nothing. And we had a hacker who was just getting our own account back all the time and some of our clients. And I think that was an interesting lesson in business. And what I'd say for anyone is these things in hindsight are cool stories to tell. And it's also when you have been through those type of things, it gives you a lot of experience and perspective when the next bump in the road comes.
This links to leadership because when I'm running my business, let's say I have 9 staff at the moment. 9 staff have issues at home. They bring them to me and tell me their stress. I help them go through their stress and help them become better and succeed at their job whilst handling my stress, whilst handling all these things that are happening in
client
my life.
Stress.
Yes. So I'm, as a leader, I can't show stress. I can't show people that something bothers me, even when it's bothering me. I can't let anyone down. So when you're having these attacks and you've got a big team, have you 40 people, 50 people?
33 now, something, which is a bit smaller.
33 people, and these are 33 problems that you can take on. Then there's attacks coming. Then there's things in your personal life that are happening. Help me understand the framework of leadership that you have to take on all this stress to be successful.
I would say the most important thing is your ability to be resilient, and resilience is your ability to get back to baseline as quickly as possible. Because one of the things I see with a lot of particular like younger entrepreneurs I work with, they're constantly triggered and are constantly anxious. And one of the frameworks I think about is like, am I going to die? Like, if it's no, then I can probably fix this and figure it out. And there's always a solution. And has someone solved this problem before? The reality is always going to be yes. So it's then the goal is to find the person to solve the problem. So like that's where I become a very, very logical thinker, which is why I look at numbers and data a lot. And also why, to be open and honest, I probably struggle from an emotional standpoint because I see everything as black and white, like in relationships and the personal side of things. One thing I do think a lot of people need to understand though is that your business will only grow to your ability to tolerate stress and almost carry that baggage. Because the more clients you have, the more bullshit you're going to have to take from them with their problems. The more team members you have, same as you said, you're going to carry that baggage. And ultimately, at some point, all the shit shifts up. So like the only things you're dealing with are the really difficult things no one else can handle. And I think that's just where you have to accept that's the reality of it. And a good friend of mine, Chris Spinman, which you might know, he said something to me the other day. He was like, it's really impressive how you've been in the industry for like 10 years now, basically. And most people come for 2-3 years and it's like a flash in the pan. And the key reason why is it's your ability to constantly get kicked in the balls and just keep going and just realize that's just going to keep happening.
Mm. And when you're getting kicked and all these things are happening, are you thinking, I just need to get through it? Because the reason why I bring it up is most people, let's say in the fitness space, they have emotional barriers and they disguise them with logical decisions. So they think they're making logical decisions, but it's actually their feelings in the way. So there's feelings and their facts, and we get confused thinking our feelings are facts. And through people working with you, is there like people who are under 10K, and then how does the program work?
So we have clients, we have a beginner program called Fit Pro Launch Systems, so basically help people get to their first 5 to 7K a month. We then have our main 7-figure scaling systems program, which helps people go from, say, 10K to 50 to 70K. And then we have our CEO program that has clients from 50 to 500K a month. So
okay.
A big, broad spectrum.
Let's focus on the 50 to 500K, because it's those people need a different level of support. What problems do they have, but what problems do they think they have?
I'll give you a great example. So my superpower is to be able to draw the X on the business of the thing you need to fix and what the real problem is. And even like I did that again with our business this morning because I was getting red shiny object if I want to go and do all this stuff. So I was like, just like it's the end of the month, look at all the numbers, look at last 3 months numbers, look at the average of last year, and like look at what you actually need to focus on rather than what I want to do from an emotional standpoint. Because like emotionally I like marketing, so I'm like, let's run more ads, let's make more content, let's do that thing, right? Whereas when I look at clients' businesses, what they actually think is the problem isn't the problem most of the time. So for example, I actually won't say who he is. One of our clients, he does 50 to 60K a month and coaches gay men as a niche. It's an interesting one.
A gaming niche?
Like a gay niche. Like,
gay niche, okay.
So he has some interesting content. And in terms of his business, he's like, I've got a closer in place. He's not performing very well, but now our issue is lead flow. I was like, I've got sales sorted. I'm like, you haven't got sales sorted, because if you've got a closer who's not performing and you give him 5 times as many calls, you've got 5 times as big of a problem and you have a really inefficient business that's not making money. So it's like, do not go past go until you fix this problem, and then we can look at getting you more call volume. And I think that's where a lot of people want to skip the chapters thinking they've finished the book already, whereas the reality is you can't go to the next book until you've actually finished and conquered and slayed this dragon. And I think it's understanding it's okay. That might not happen in 2 weeks. You might not find the perfect phone closer in a month. It might take you 2-3 months to build the right type of team. And from my own experience with our business, one of the things I've actually consciously started to do is slow down, which sounds backwards. I actually saw Moisey put a video the other day about making quicker decisions, but I'm like, my superpower previously is implementing very quickly. But if you implement the wrong thing with a team perspective, that's a big problem to then undo at some point. So I try and look at like a business, like a chessboard with pieces on the board of like staff members and team and people you can bring in. Who can I position in the right place to allow us to basically win the game? And a lot of the time that takes a bit of thinking and thought process rather than just being instinctive with the emotional first thing that comes to you. So I think from anyone looking at this, the most important thing is to actually understand your numbers. Like there was someone at Wolves event this weekend who was asking questions. They didn't even know what the closing rate was. It's like, it's kind of fundamental. So if you have stats, you can look at the cold, hard facts and then look at what is off from that and then focus on fixing that point of constraint before you go to doing the thing you probably emotionally want to do.
So how do you look through your data? Like you've got to your computer and you're now going to look through numbers. What are you doing?
So the most important numbers I would look to are obviously new sales. So LTV, CAC is your cost to acquire a customer, which is going to be your ad spend, marketing budget in terms of like media team, videographers, all that type of stuff, closers, setters, any software like counted with bringing people through. Basically put that all together, divided by how many new customers you sign up in a month would be your cost to acquire a customer. Churn rate, like those are the 3 big ones I would look at. And then the other metrics I would look at would be like your closing rate, average cash collected. And if you have those probably 5 metrics, you've got probably sales calls booked, you have a very good basis of where the problem is. And then I would go deeper down a rabbit hole from where there. So for example, if your issue is, okay, we're not booking enough sales calls and your current strategies, you're doing DM messaging on Instagram, it's where, okay, cool. How many new conversations a day are you starting? How many follow-up messages a day are you doing? Okay, you're maxing all your new followers in terms of messages. How many followers do you get a day? Okay, you only get 50. Are you running any paid traffic? No. Okay, let's do that, and then we can increase the followers. You've got more people to message. You've got more calls booked, and that's where like you almost look upstream then from that point when you know the actual problem that you're looking for.
So you find one thing that's working, and you just try to max that out. So would you recommend if someone's good at organic content, they now run ads? How do you
yes,
decide?
because at some point you can't. Organic content isn't consistent. It like you can pop off and reels and get like a load of traffic here and there, but it's not reliable. And if you are good with organic content and you have got a good organic audience, you have a huge amount of money you can make from retargeting ads, which is targeting your warm audience, and you have to spend very, very little. So where people lose money on Facebook ads is running into cold traffic where they don't know you, like absolutely from Timbuktu. I mentioned before the podcast, we just signed up someone from last night from the US, and I was saying to you all weekend how I'm plotting and scheming to try and get like ads to convert in the US that cold. This woman came in, bought a program cold, and fucking straight from an ad. I'm like, this is sick. It's like law of attraction at its finest. And I think that's being really clear in terms of what you want to do. But cold ads are very hard. Warm traffic, if you've got an existing audience, they already have the no like trust factor. The problem we have right now is skepticism is going up and up and up. And the only way to combat that is two things. One is showing more proof of the promises. So like I will just bombard people with social proof on my stories, retargeting ads with social proof all the time, like client testimonial videos, doing video, like long form videos with clients, crushes, because they watch you and me and then with clients, whatever, for a video for an hour, like there's no bullshit, this guy's worked with him. And I think this is where I also look at building assets organically in our business that we can then send to prospects that are going to help convert people over time. So you can use your organic content as a conversion mechanism.
There was something that you said, which was you made a sale and then you increased your budget after making that sale. But most people who aren't business minded, entrepreneurship minded, they would make a sale and think, how do I spend that money? You didn't even think that money is yours. You just thought, now I need to do more. To you, it sounds simple. But for the average layman, it's like, if I've just made 10 grand or 15 grand or whatever it is, I now need to take some money. I've made some money, but you don't think you've made any money. You're like, I need to do more with this. That is a mindset shift that most people haven't got to.
And I would say this is respectfully a British mindset, and we can say it because we're both British. We have a fear-based mindset of money is constricted. There's a limited amount of money in the world. If you come to Dubai, you go to the US, you go to anywhere, there's multi-million-dollar homes in every corner of the world. There is no shortage of resources. There's a shortage of resourcefulness to go and get them. So from my side, the most powerful thing you need as an entrepreneur is pattern recognition. Now, one of the reasons I like Facebook ads is I can see, specifically using Hyros, like an ad tracking software, the exact campaign that this woman came from, the exact ad this woman came from, and I'm like, okay, that's sick. And then the first thing I did was I messaged the setter and the closer being like, this woman who signed up, well done. Where is she from? What's she like? What does she do? Give me some background information. So I know more about the avatar. And ironically, this is funny in hindsight, but it's kind of not. I actually turned this ad off like 2 days ago. So she came in, like she must have booked in the last day we actually had the ad running, and then converted for 3.5K, whatever it was. So we're like a 8x ROAS or whatever in this ad campaign. And this is also, if you don't have the tracking in place to see this, you don't know what ads are working because you're not actually looking. And the reason that most people can't get paid traffic to scale is because they're not looking for the patterns and also asking the deeper level questions. And like Sabri did a great talk about this about Will's event, is that like once you know the avatar, so like this is a woman from California, she wanted to stop doing group classes, she wanted to spend more time at home with her dog, it was random, that was actually one of the things, is then you know, okay, how can I make content that's psychologically going to trigger this person to click on the ad and pull them in? So like a lot of the time what I think about every single day is what can I test on Instagram stories today that could trigger someone, that nudges them over the line? What have I seen from the customers I've spoken to, the sales calls I've listened to, the sales calls I've taken? And that's where it's like one of the deepest things of why I think most entrepreneurs should be very heavily involved in their marketing and their ads, is you understand your audience better than anyone else.
And that's the big difference. You post things to test. Some people post things banking their work. There's a big mindset difference there. So you're just like constantly testing and collecting data. You're looking at data, collecting data. Someone might see a reel of you on Instagram and think, oh, he's got his Ferrari out, but you're not thinking about the Ferrari and the content aesthetically. You're thinking, I'm testing an idea. How does someone get into that framework of testing? Because it's the test. Like, I don't have a big Instagram. I've been testing for 2 months with an agency to see what message grows. I still don't know yet. We still sat down the other day and we thought, what's growing on our Instagram? Let's test some more. We found some image carousels that I got from you, an idea, and then those seemed to work. That was the only thing that's worked recently. So like, and then you tested it, then you told others how to do it.
Yeah.
So explain it to me.
And this is where I use a scientific fuck around and find out method. I like to try a lot of really left ball stuff from all types of different content. And I actually said about a YouTube video we're making, which I think it's either going to bang and go viral or it'll get like 100 views and just tank. But I'm willing to flip the coin to see, because particularly for organic content, other than an hour and a half of my time to film it and some team resources to make it, is it worth the gamble? Yeah. And this is where I think you have to look at business is gambling with resources of people's time and your team and your own time and also your financial investment, but making the best bet. So I always try and look what has the biggest potential upside for me long term. So one of the reasons I'm very heavy in terms of long form content is the compound effect over that over a period of time, and also in terms of personal branding from an organic side as well. But if you have an organic brand and then you also start to put ads on top of that, you get to the point where you're literally all over people all the time and they can never escape like what I call spiderweb marketing.
Then it's like, to go deeper on the spiderweb marketing, it's also emails. Like, have you noticed the behavior of people on Hyros? Are they also going LinkedIn? Where else are they looking? Because most people are naive to think they go on your Instagram and they're done. Can you help me understand what is the journey of a customer?
This is incredibly interesting, and when you have the data like this, really granular, it's great to know. So for example, it takes us 39 days on average statistically for a lead to come in to become a client on average. So I know if today's April, is it first, second, first? I then, April Fools, if I pump the ad spend today and nothing happens the next 7 days, that's probably to be expected because on average, it takes 39 days for these leads to convert. So you have to be willing to weather the storm as you take the ad spend up. But from your question with the spiderweb marketing, what I see from the tracking softwares we use, I'll give a great example. We had a lady who came in, I think from the US in maybe May, June last year. She came in via cold ad. She then went to a Google YouTube video and then she got booked via an Instagram DM her. So she came through 3 different ways.
Explain the journey again.
So she came in from a Facebook ad originally.
Yep.
So she came in for a free course. We dragged her off the internet. She went into our school group, went into our email list, probably followed me on Instagram, came into the ecosystem. She then got into our YouTube, probably via email, because you've got to push that. And then she clicked on the emails, looked at booking a call. She didn't book a call then. And then about 4 or 5 months later, she got booked from a DM setter on Instagram. So this shows that people hover around for a long period of time, but there is multiple touch points.
But the amateur business owner would think, I'm getting sales from DMs. Let's switch ads off. Let's now switch. Would they do this, wouldn't they?
100%. So this is also the game. So you know, it's about pattern recognition. I ask our setting team every day, what are the followers like? How many people are coming through on the account? What's the account activity like? Because I will know that if I increase the ad spend, say even for just lead generation, lead magnet ads or whatever, that we then pick up followers off the back of those. Because people will click on the ad, go to my profile, and then some of them will follow me. So if you actually spend more on cold adverts, not even as follower campaigns, you will pick up more followers that you can then bring into that funnel and DM. But this is where most people don't look a layer deeper of how profitable ads actually are. And actually I heard Dan Henry talk about this, and this is what I know he's coming to your podcast, which I'd highly suggest everyone listens to. I heard him talk about this, and also Eros at the event, that once you go over a certain amount of ad spend or at a certain point, like even with the touch points I mentioned earlier with from Facebook ad to YouTube to Instagram, there's so many different touch points, it's difficult to allocate who came from where or like what really brought the money in. So you actually at some point just have to look, okay, what did I spend? What was our revenue? If the month after I increased our spend by 20%, did the revenue go up? If it did, it's probably the ads. And then try and really have a gauge like that.
That's
and
so good.
One of the ways I heard someone explain this to me was that if you look at conventional businesses, if you look at someone like Nike, how do they know how their marketing's working? If they put a massive billboard in Times Square, how do you attribute sales to that? There's no UTM tracking code on that. Or from Ronaldo having a Nike tick on his shirt. So I think that's sometimes where you have to have a broader perspective, but also take an educated bet.
The bigger the vision, the more you will spend on awareness. So most marketers that are between £1 and £3 million, they only think bottom of funnel. Then when you move towards £3 to £10 million, they now start to think middle of funnel, what kind of things are going to do? When you talk about 100 million entrepreneurs, they think billboards, football t-shirts, because it's awareness and message. Like, have you heard the story about New Balance and how they re-engineered the company? And they sponsored Jack Harlow as a top of funnel new ambassador, made the brand cool again, and they moved from a dad brand to a cool brand because they allocated their budget. So now when you're thinking about growing the next phase of your brand, are you thinking top of funnel? Are you thinking about engineering attention rather than fluking attention?
Exactly that. And actually what that just reminded me of is we currently have if anyone who's been to Marbella has been to Paddle Gym, I don't know if you've seen this. Yeah. There's a banner of me that's like 20 foot long, that's in the middle of the gym, like wide, of like doing like a bicep flex or something over a Ferrari or something, basically about talking about scaling your online business. Now it was like maybe €2,000, but I was like, in my head, I'm like, how many online trainers go to this gym over a year? What is the likelihood I can get one person to follow me on Instagram from that, or a couple of people that are going to convert? That's probably a gamble I'm going to take. And that's where I think if you are smart with your resources, but also you think about old school methods in terms of marketing, if you know where your clients are and you put your physical face in that location constantly, they have to look at every day, who do they think of when they think about, I want to become a successful online coach?
Yeah.
Me. And that's the same thing in terms of anyone's brand. If you can have your stuff in front of everyone else, you want your name and your brand to be synonymous with whatever problem you solve.
I think a lot of people might even listen to this and it might even go over their head in terms of thinking about when you're trying to make money and you're thinking transactional, making ads to making money. But then when you start to think about just getting attention for the sake of getting attention, knowing it will lead to something 12 months from now, that involves a lot of big vision. And most people don't have it. So it's like there's a level of sophistication to the way of thinking, which is bigger than the person who's making a few million a year.
And I think the problem with that is most people have too small time frames. So like the minimum I'll always think is 3 to 5 years ahead in life. And I think the reason most people can't think correctly with their business is they're thinking week to week, month to month. Like I said earlier on this podcast, like I reviewed earlier all of our retention data from last year, comparing it to first quarter of this year, because I want to look back and I want to compare and I want to look at a bigger, broader spectrum of data, not just what's happened in the last 3 months.
So what do you look at? Like what data sets are you looking at?
So like specifically this morning, what I was looking at was our average churn over last year compared to this year. And in the last, if we compare January versus February and March, we've halved the churn in our business, which will have a dramatic output in terms of our business growing. And if I was looking at the stats of this and I was kind of laughing, and it's like I feel like stabbing myself in the eye with a fork in hindsight, but you don't know what you don't know. And this is why having someone who's skilled and been through the fire with business can save a lot of time and money, is like yourself or me or whoever it would be. And the reason I actually have fixed the churn issue is because Alex Hormozy on his podcast, like, and at his event was like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you don't need more leads. You just need to fix this problem. And I was like, okay, I see what you mean. And we have now fixed that issue. And we were stuck at probably a fairly stable client number. We bring in X amount every month, X amount would leave, making good money. We changed this, like our clients are just stacking to the point we now have to then start hiring more people from a fulfillment perspective, which is getting problems. But it's interesting, and it made me really think about the analogy of small hinges swing big doors, because it was 2 small tweaks that made a massive difference in terms of our client numbers starting to stack up without me even touching the front end and doing anything for marketing.
How did you know to make that decision though? How would you even know to do that?
By having the data and looking at it. So like our churn rate was averaging like 12% and it's now down at 4.8.
And do you consider churn, let's say someone signs up for 90 days, for example, is that churn, or if they miss a payment and they cancel churn?
We just look at a month-to-month basis in terms of we have 100 clients, for example, at the start of the month, and we have 10 clients who will leave. We then work out the churn off of the number of clients at the start of the month versus people who leave. That would be the churn percentage.
So every business looks at it differently. Some businesses would separate everyone finishing their program as not churned clients because they bought something and they got it. And some people would look at it as they missed a payment or there was a delinquency.
But our goal is that they never leave. So like that, from my perspective, is elongating the time frame of like we want to stack clients. And because the way I'd frame that, different businesses solve different problems. So if you want to take a fitness business from 0 to, let's say, 500k a month, like, we can take you through the entire process. So essentially, until you get to the point you're at 500k a month, you haven't finished. So there is actually not really any reason for anyone to leave, because they still have problems in the business they need help with. And then that's our job to then articulate to them, okay, this is the problem you need to have, Usman. This is how you need to fix it. This is how we can help you fix it. This is why you're staying.
I feel like I know less about marketing than I did 2 years ago, but I've learned so much because now I've figured out all the stuff I don't know. Now there's a bigger gap. What's something that like you feel like you know less about, but you know way more about it than years ago?
Operations and data and number of the stuff I was just talking about, because I, in a polite term, would just throw enough shit against the wall and then just sell whatever came from it, and just
pure violence, just pure
just brute force fucking aggression of like how much traffic can we get, how many calls can we book. And I remember in our fitness business at one point we were booking like, I think our record day was maybe like 80, 85 sales calls or something stupid. And I look back now and I'm like, if I knew what I knew now, I would have probably been making like 8 figures a year. But you don't know what you don't know. And that's why I say to anyone listening to this, you are paying a huge amount of ignorance tax that you are not aware of, because you have a huge amount of probably ego and pride because you've done well to a certain degree. But there's a huge amount further you can go. And I'll give an example to remind me when Alex Ramosi said to me I had a very small business. I was like, fuck. Like my soul had died inside a bit.
How did he say it? What did he say to you?
I just said like, oh, your revenue level, you've got a really small business. I was like casually. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And I get their point in terms of like actual bigger businesses, because what we do with info businesses, we spoke about the other day, in the grand scheme of things isn't huge, but compared to normal people's lives, normal people's jobs, it's extraordinary. But I also think it's about optimizing what you want out of your business. And also, one of the problems I see a lot of people do when they're scaling their business is they create a prison for themselves. Mm-hmm. Like they've got the golden handcuffs, but they can't walk away. And one of the things that I think about a lot in my life, and I think I said this to you yesterday, a couple of days ago, was that I'm now just enjoying the process more rather than obsessing over like how much money have we made today, And as soon as I start to let that go a bit and just focus on fixing the business and fixing the real problems, the money comes, the client success comes, and just trying to genuinely help people.
What you described is when someone says, once you make money, you can make more money. So what happened to you was you made money, the stress of money went, which allows you to make more money now, because now you can make decisions based upon growth, not I need to make money.
And that's where it comes to elongating your time frames. And I would say one of the best things anyone could do is to travel and to meet new people. So I know you do this loads, you go to loads of mastermind events. And for example, me going to Las Vegas earlier in the year completely transformed our business. From the stuff I did with Hormozy and some of those things. I got some cool marketing stuff from ClickFunnels, getting 2 Common Club X award. But I actually distinctly remember a conversation with a good friend of mine called Zach Colburn, who does the same thing as I do. And he said to me, I'm going to be doing this for the next 10, 15 years. I was like, that's interesting. And it really like took me back, because everyone else in info space is like, oh, I'm going to do this for like 2 years and I'm going to like rinse it for what I can and then get out. And I was like, maybe I need to change my time frames and what I'm actually thinking here. Because what do I like doing? I like business and I like fitness. It's like, okay, could I just keep scaling this for the next 5, 10 years? Yeah. So it's like, why don't I just focus on doing that and not getting distracted? Can I add in other stuff, which I am doing at points? Yeah. But I also think it's about people having long-term goals and ambitions and planting the seeds of what you're going to harvest tomorrow, where I think people are trying to harvest the crop without planting the seed now.
Trying to do their 1 rep max all the time rather than build get their like strength up, testing rather than actually building.
Yeah.
What things do you need to develop now? Because you've got all these things that you've worked on. Now you've improved your data analysis. Now you've improved how you think about time horizons. What do you think are the things that you don't even know yet?
I would say a weakness is hiring and delegating. So I would say there's 2 sides to every coin. I'm skilled in a lot of things, and the problem with me being skilled in a lot of things is I want to try and do everything. So this, at a point, I was thinking about this morning, there's certain things I need to start delegating off more that I'm currently doing.
Like what?
At a point, I shouldn't be running our Facebook ads. I should be having someone else. I'm like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to set up, this is what I want to do, off you go. And it's probably because I enjoy doing it.
Which bit do you give away, the creative side or the buying side?
It would just be the creative, more like, respectfully to whoever this would become in the future, is performing monkey of like, here's 10 ads, put them in the system, put this targeting in, off you go.
So isn't that the buying side?
Yeah, it's buying side.
Yeah. So the creative side you should want to do, the script writing.
Yeah, because I think that's the most powerful thing, because it's what comes first. And Sabri actually spoke about that, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of the biggest mistakes most people make in their business, and why their business goes backwards, is the things that actually make you money, people take themselves out of. And I asked one of the questions David Dre at the mastermind for Cole Gordon was, what's the difference from Cole making 100 to 200K a month versus a couple of million a month? What does he do? He's like, he has his fingers in everything. He understands everything that's going on. I was like, that's interesting. And then I thought, okay, here's actually some radical transparency. Our churn is our biggest problem. I actually said this to Aiden yesterday, our COO. I was like, how many coaching, like fulfillment training team things have I been on? He was like, none. I was like, maybe I should start coming on some of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, in hindsight, it's obvious where you have fires, because not that it's that bad, but where you put your focus, you fix things.
Do you do this thing where, as a CEO, you have a weekly focus? So you'll say, this week I'm a free agent and I'm going to go into delivery. And you just don't tell anyone, and you just deep dive into delivery, and you're just on every meeting, and you just suddenly just turn up. And no one in the business knows where you're going to turn up, because each week you're focused on something different, or it might be the same thing a week. And if you see yourself as a free agent in the business and you go and just tackle one department every week, your business looks very different in a month.
I 100% agree with that. And I also think that's where people pigeonhole themselves in certain buckets. And I also think one thing people who are entrepreneurs tend to do is label themselves. I'm not good at sales. Like, I'm sure you've heard loads of people say that, right?
Yeah.
I can't sell. I can't, like I said earlier, I'm not good at hiring. I'm not bad. Is that my strongest skill set? Probably not. But I think that's also where, if something isn't your strongest skill set, and as your business grows, your job is to find someone who is better than you at that one thing.
So your business is an extension of your personality. So you said that you make logical decisions, so you don't make as many emotional decisions. And with hiring, you have to be emotionally aware to connect with people. Would you say that that's maybe a thing of a personal development that links into your business?
I would say it's probably fair. I think I previously rushed in a lot of respects, because I always wanted to like scale. So like, you've got a pulse, you seem to have some relevance, like in the seat, off you go, let's see what happens. And then until you've done that a few times, and then you suddenly realize it takes a lot of work to train someone, and then also undo that mess.
Yeah.
So it's like, one of my favorite sayings for everyone is slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Say it again.
Slow is smooth, smooth
Yeah.
is fast. So it's like, I think like Rolls Royce, like a Rolls Royce accelerates, it's not like poof, it's like poof.
Yeah.
So I think that's a framework I try and think about with business, is rather than previously, before, I'd be like blunt force, fucking like hit this as hard as I can, let's just see what happens. It's like an incremental pressure increase over time.
It's like when you see billionaires speak or interact, there's a finesse, they're just talking and they're so calm, and you're thinking, how is this guy? Have you ever looked at someone as extreme?
But they never look like if you look at Elon Musk, like, you couldn't, like, for all the money he has, I wouldn't want to be him. Like, can you imagine the shit that goes on in his head? The things he's thinking about on a daily basis.
Well,
but he never looks like...
I've seen him say he takes a ketamine once a month.
What's
he said,
right?
have you heard this?
Yeah.
He takes it once a month just to feel like the depression that he takes on. So, but he's someone who's taking on so much, and he now has to take a drug to be able to feel something again.
And it's actually, we'd go down that rabbit hole, and I don't know if this relates to you, is you say feel something again. So I would say most entrepreneurs are dopamine addicts, myself included.
Yeah.
Like, I want the next fucking high. And the problem is, at a certain point, you can't get any higher. So for example, first time I sold a PDF Word document workout program for 40 quid, I was like, this is the fucking best thing ever. And then like, you sold a program for £500, I'm like, oh, this is insane. And then you start selling a 3K one, and then you're like, oh, this is sick. And then you don't care anymore. And then you sell a 10K fitness program, and like, oh, I was sick. And then we now sell more expensive stuff, and I'm like, just not even bothered. You almost become numb to it after a period of time, which I think is an interesting perspective, that you're constantly chasing the next high.
This is
but
really
the dose wears off, if that makes sense.
This podcast is really for high-level thinkers, so it's for people who actually want to be incredibly successful. And I can tell you, if you want to be incredibly successful, you can chase happiness or success. You can chase happiness or respect. A man who chases happiness chases dopamine and makes decisions based upon dopamine. And if you stop thinking that way and think, I want respect from others, you then speak and talk differently, because your actions are to chase respect from others. And you now do things that are hard. People talk about like, I just do things that are hard. It's actually, what do you want from society and people? I just want to be respected. I don't care as much about being happy. I used to think about, I just want to be happy. I say it all the time. But now I don't care about being happy. And that's why I look at some successful people and you think, are they grumpy? No, they're not grumpy. They just want to respect.
I find the more I focus, more even think about being happy, the less happy I am. Whereas I just am.
Yeah.
So I just live my life and do the things I intuitively want to do. Yeah. I get invited to something. Do I want to go? Yes or no? No, I don't go because I don't want to. Or yes, I do want to go. I'm happy. So like, I think people pin up too much on the happiness paradigm, whereas the reality is if you just do what you want to do genuinely for your own internal validation, not external validation, then you will be happy. And I think the problem is people do things because they want external validation, which is why I see so many fitness coaches who are fucking broke driving Range Rovers, but they've got a pot to piss in because they're seeking external validation, not putting the money into the Facebook ads, like we said.
In the maturity of any business owner, they're still chasing happiness and they won't be able to relate and be like, why do you not want to be happy? They'll see it as a toxic thing. They'll see it as like, that's toxic, you don't want to be happy. No, there's a level above. Anyone successful, do you think Trump wants to be happy? Do you think Elon Musk wants to be happy? They just want to be respected. They just want to do right what they think is morally right.
And I think there's a difference between happiness and fulfillment. Yeah. So for me, I optimize for fulfillment. So nothing makes me happier than... Actually, this is funny. This is a true story. So the client who signed up this week, who was from someone who slated me online, he found me via YouTube, whatever, he sent me a message like the day after he joined, being like, I just made $2,000 from something you taught on your YouTube videos. I'm so fucking pumped. I'm making money. I haven't started working with you. And I was like, I literally woke up and saw that message. Like, that's fucking sick. And for me, that's where the knock-on consequences of me trying really hard to grow my business, put information out there and really, really help people, then has the ability to help give other people the gift of success.